is George Wayne on 2JJ talking to Electric Light Orchestra. And over in London we have one of the founders of the Electric Light Orchestra, and he's also their drummer, Bevan. Welcome to Double J, and how are you?
Very well, thank you.
And you're hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, I am.
The satellite is not bouncing back against your ears?
No, not too painful. It's coming through loud and clear.
Let's start with the early bands that preceded ELO. Talking about Denny Laine and the Diplomats and Carl Wayne and the Vikings, which is your very earliest start in the business. We're talking about the same Denny Laine.
Yeah, that's old Denny, who's with Wings now. We started off together when we left school. We formed a group called Denny Laine and the Diplomats. And we worked for a couple of years, just sort of getting the feel of the business, before Denny left to join the Moody Blues. And at about the same time, I left to join Carl Wayne and the Vikings, which about a year later became The Move. We got in Roy Wood, Trevor Burton, Ace Kefford, and that formed The Move, along with myself and Carl Wayne.
Well, let's listen to California Man by The Move.
All right, why not?
You, in fact, together with Jeff Lynne and Roy Wood, formed ELO.
Yeah.
And that was about 69.
Well, we started thinking about it in about 69. Actually, the ELO never got formed at all until about 72, before we ever actually did anything. It was one of these ventures that was very difficult to put together because we needed string players that could play classical music, and we had to amplify cellos and violins, and it was all very difficult. It took a long while to get together, to come together properly.
Yeah, well, actually, when you started playing, apparently you had an enormous amount of instrument, about a lot of sound problems.
Yeah, well, see, we couldn't copy anybody else's ideas because nobody had ever done it before. Nobody had ever put a rock group on the road, and in their lineup, we had to cope with the problems of amplifying cellos and violins. We had a French horn and all the keyboards, and everybody was stumbling around the stage with headphones on. And generally, it was a bit of a mess, actually, to start with.
Well, how did you overcome that problem?
Well, in the end, Roy got fed up with the whole thing. He couldn't cope with it any longer. And he only stuck around about 6 months, and he left after the first album.
Mm.
And we cut the band down to a 7-piece, which made all the difference. And we got hold of these special pickups from America to clamp onto the cellos and the violin. And from then on, it was pretty well plain sailing, and it started to sound good. We got special speakers and amplifiers and different effects on stage, and the whole thing just gelled together, and it's been easy ever since, really.
Just going back to Roy Wood leaving the band, he split and formed Wizard.
Yeah.
And See My Baby Jive was their first hit in about April 73 or something.
Yeah, I think that was a big hit everywhere. Yeah. Good record.
You're on Double J with George Wayne and Bevan of the Electric Light Orchestra. ELO's first appearance was at the Greyhound, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Croydon, that's true. Yeah. How do you know that? Right over there in Australia. Amazing.
Oh, we know a lot of things over in Australia.
Nothing secret.
That must have been quite a gig.
Yeah, it was, about the first 20 or 30 gigs we did. In fact, every gig we ever did with Roy in the original lineup was not very good, really. I mean, it was all experimental. Everything we did was something new, and we were trying to get the sound right. It took about a year to get it right. And from then on, it was okay.
Jeff Lynne is quite a force in the band.
Oh, yeah. Jeffrey's obviously the leading light. I mean, he writes just about everything we do, and he produces the albums as well. He does half the singing on stage, and generally he's a clever lad, really. He's writing some really nice songs lately. We're all very proud of him.
Your first American tour was around about February 73. What was what was the reaction in the States when you first got over there?
Well, just tremendous. I mean, America has been so kind to us. We've done 5 tours now since then, and each one has been better than the last. And we almost regard America as our home country. I mean, we do we tour in America far more than we do in England. And, in fact, we even spend more time there, I think, than we do at home. And we just get on very well with the American people, and they get on very well with us.
But you record mainly in England, don't you?
Well, we just started recording in Germany now. The new album we just recorded in Munich, because some friends of ours, Deep Purple, recommended the studio to us. And we tried it out, and it was really good. So I think in future our albums are going to be recorded in Germany. And most of our work has been concentrated in America, and I imagine we'll do a lot more in the future. And because this Australian tour is our first venture over that side of the world.
Yeah, right.
So we're looking forward to equaling some success over there.
Listen, we saw a clip here on a TV show called In Concert, where the cellos were on roller skates. Do you remember that? Yeah, you must remember that, surely.
Actually, I don't. I mean, they get around that stage pretty quickly, but I don't ever remember putting roller skates on.
It's all done with mirrors.
It's all done with mirrors, yeah. They get around, they're pretty nippy, those cello players. They keep fit. They swing around the head and leap around the stage and make an exhibition of themselves, but that might be an idea, actually. I'll put that forward. Roller skates.
Maybe you can roller skate your way around the stage when you come over here.
Well, we'll try anything once. Yeah.
On 2JJ, this is George Wayne talking to Electric Light Orchestra in London. In fact, we're talking to Bevan. One of your, whether this is still the case, I don't know. One of your big favourites was Phil Spector.
Yeah.
You admired his sound.
I did very much, yeah, because it was, it was so different from anybody else's, and the guy was always experimenting with new sounds. I suppose it sounds a bit dated now, but I think at the time of like Be My Baby and Lost That Loving Feeling, I thought his productions were far surpassed anybody else's at the time.
Well, any particular track that comes to your mind from Spector that we could drop in?
Well, I think that You've Lost That Loving Feeling by the Righteous Brothers is probably the favourite record of all time for me.
Bev, you've said in the past that one of the greatest influences, in fact, I think several members of the band have said, the Beatles.
Yeah.
And Abbey Road specifically, in your case, was a very influential album.
It was half influential, and it was also the time. I just remember it very well because it was released at the time of the Move's only tour of America in 1969. And it just stands out in my memory as being, as going with the tour at the time, so it's not only influential, it was also just brought back a lot of nice memories of the first American tour.
Mm.
But I think if you ask almost any group, they're bound to say that the Beatles influenced them in some way, because
sure,
I can't think of any other group. I don't suppose there ever will be another group that will have such an effect on the music business as they did.
As far as drums, as far as your particular role in the band is concerned, have you had any, apart from the things we've talked about, have you had any personal influences, like as far as drumming goes? Who would be your heroes?
Yeah, I've got heroes, yeah. Buddy Rich probably is my favourite drummer of all time. And on the rock scene, I really like John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, because he's really heavy. In fact, he's from the same town, he's from Birmingham as well. And we both played in similar groups, and the same group sometimes. And I think he's about the best. There's a few good drummers around. Ainsley Dunbar, Ian Pace from Deep Purple.
Have you ever caught Buddy?
Good ones.
Have you ever caught Buddy Rich at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club on his occasional visit?
I've seen him playing in England 2 or 3 times. And I've always been really knocked out with him. I mean, he's always been a favourite drummer of mine. I mean, the guy's just amazing. I mean, he's not very young anymore either, but his energy is quite incredible. I think he's had a few heart attacks for his trouble.
Yes. Right. Well, listen, in terms of coming to Australia, I mean, the first thing I suppose that strikes one is the fact that with all the people you have in the band and all the instruments, and would you have any equipment hassles? Surely getting the equipment across the oceans as far as going to America or coming to Australia is concerned would be quite a problem.
Well, we're bringing all our special stuff. I mean, I'm taking my own drum kit. The drum kit I keep in Los Angeles, I'm having flown to Australia. And obviously we're bringing all our own cellos and violins and guitars. And we use a Moog synthesizer, which we're bringing with us, and a Mellotron, electric piano. We're relying on the Australian promoter to supply us with the speakers and amplifiers and the PA system, which we're assured are the best it can get. So we're quite confident of getting the same sound as we get anywhere else in the world.
Aside from the equipment, do you in fact do you travel with sound engineers or people like that?
Yeah, we've got our own lighting crew, and we always bring our own sound engineer. We always carry 3 or 4 of our personal roadies with us that can look after us properly. And then we usually pick up a few people in the country that we're visiting.
Sure. So we can expect quite an entourage.
Oh yeah, there'll be about 20 of us invading your fair land.
Right. What kind of stage act can we expect to see in Australia?
Well, I guess we'll do the same one as we've been doing on the last American tour, which lasts about an hour and a half. It starts off quite placidly. The first hour really is devoted to tracks from the last 2 or 3 albums and a few singles that we've released. And probably the last half hour gets a bit hectic, and we get more into the rock and roll stuff, and it all starts getting a bit wild. And that usually works pretty well because people can listen for an hour, and then for the last half hour or so they can have a good time and jump about.
Can you tell us something about the new album?
The new one, yeah, it's going to be called Face the Music, and it's not like Eldorado. It's not a concept album. It's all tracks that are completely separate. And it's a bit heavier than the rest of the stuff we've ever done. A lot more up-tempo, rock and roll sort of stuff. But everybody that's heard it, without exception, I think, says that it's our best album, and we think so. And it's coming out in England and in America in September, so hopefully it'll come out in Australia at the same time.
Is the lineup on the album basically the same as what you've had, or have you had any additions, or...?
No, we changed one cello player since the last album. A guy called Melvin Gale has replaced Mike Edwards, who was in the band before.
What's Mike Edwards?
But otherwise, it's the same.
What's Mike Edwards? Did he opt out, or did you decide to?
Oh, Mike was a very strange little chap. He was very he got himself immersed in Zen Buddhism, which didn't do much for him at all. And in the end, he left and decided to become a postman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was we couldn't really get through to him. His brain got scrambled somewhere along the line. So it happens to the best of us.
You're on 2JJ, and I'm talking with Bevan of ELO. Well, everyone has preconceived ideas, but what are you expecting to find when you come to Australia? And don't tell me it's kangaroos.
All right. I don't know. We just expect to find a vast place with not many towns in it. I mean, I'm expecting to find like miles and miles of desert separating different towns. And the Australian in England has got an image of being like hard drinking and Foster's lager and getting into fights and.
Well, which one of those are you into?
Oh well, we're quite peace loving really, but we're all. You do play soccer over there, don't you? That's something.
I was going to ask you about your soccer because you're quite a big soccer fan.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a soccer player. You see, that was my original dream.
Together with Rod Stewart and all the others.
Yeah. Well, we get to. I mean, that's an advantage that when you do become a rock and roll star, whatever you want to call it, we're getting. I mean, I play in a team, sort of a showbiz type team, and we get to play on really nice football grounds in front of thousands of people, playing like. With really good ex-professional players and stuff like that, just for charity matches, Well,
when you say showbiz type team, can you tell us who would be appearing in such a team?
Yeah, sure. Well, like Robert Plant out of Zeppelin, Elton John, Ray and Dave Davis out the Kinks, they often play. Myself and Jeff, of course, out of ELO. Roy plays sometimes. And a few English Radio 1 disc jockeys and people like that. It's a lot of fun, though.
It really sounds bigger than Woodstock to me.
It's more fun than Woodstock.
I'm
We
sure
get more
it
fun
is.
out of doing that than anything. Yeah.
How's Elton going down at Watford?
Well, he's earning them a lot of money. He really is. He's doing a good job.
He's been quite a shot in the arm for them, isn't he?
Yeah, he has, yeah. He's really is a soccer fanatic, that guy. Whenever I see him, that's all we ever talk about is football. Music just never gets mentioned at all. So we're looking forward to seeing some Australian soccer.
Well, listen, Bev, we look forward to seeing you out here, and as I said, we'll meet you and lay on whatever you need. And
Terrific.
that'll be around about the 29th.
Yeah. All right. Well, we all look forward to seeing you, and we just hope that that you like us. You know, I mean, I just hope that that we have the same sort of effect on the Australian people as we do in most places we go.
Well, if
Just hope that it works out.
if you're half as good as your albums on stage, I'm quite sure you're going to get a captive audience.
Oh, that's great. Well,
without any doubt.
I look forward to it.